They say it's better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all. Maybe not if you're a Bills fan.
P-Ryan makes the move around Bernard, and that will clinch it. Kansas City! Bass. No, he doesn't make it.
Buffalo had no answer for everything that Cincinnati decided to dish out.
Josh Allen is my favorite quarterback in the NFL.
17 is a scoring machine.
I like him more than my quarterback, Bo Nix, and I believe harder than a devout Bronco Christian. I think Josh is the best QB in the league outside of maybe the man who keeps thwarting him in the playoffs. He's Batman, Mahomes is Superman. He's got no chance even though he's just as fucking good. Watching a truly generational talent who you root for from the deepest depths of your pitiful football soul, only to witness him lose to the same man in similar ways 4 times in the playoffs in a 5-year span is a football tragedy. Boo. The Bills are the first team in NFL history to win a playoff game in 5 straight seasons but not reach the Super Bowl in any of them. The Bills are so tragic that if Shakespeare were alive, he'd be a sports writer at the Buffalo News. The story of Josh Allen and his Buffalo Bills in the playoffs is one of staggering consistency paired with profound heartbreak. No other quarterback in the modern NFL has performed as well in the postseason, only to see his team fall short time after time, year after year.
Maybe a touchdown to Diggs that went through their hands, and then a missed field goal. You can't do it all.
And at the heart of this tragedy lies a painful truth. The Bills had the great misfortune to be great at the same time as the Kansas City Chiefs, a team that's better at being great than anyone else in history. Josh Allen and the Bills are worse than unlucky. They are tragic, more than you might even realize. And today we're going balls deep into Josh Allen and the Bills. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. We're close to 703,000 subscribers. I'd love to hit 705,000 by the Super Bowl. Can we do it? Today's episode is sponsored by Underdog and my code That's Good. If you want to play in pick'em games or daily fantasy, I suggest doing it with Underdog. They've been rocking with this channel for 2.5 years now. Of course, we've got the goal, if I get 10,000 signups by basically the end of the draft, they owe me $1 million. Also, if the Chiefs three-peat, I've agreed to attend their three-peat victory parade, but only if we hit 7,500 signups by the end of the Super Bowl. We're about 2,400 signups from hitting that goal, which means you control my destiny. Can I just relax that week, or do I gotta put myself through literal hell? Do I gotta go to hell for your entertainment? Choice is yours. The Chiefs' run has been nothing short of unprecedented, and I use that word knowing all too well what the Patriots did for 2 decades with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. KC, though, is the first team in NFL history to reach 5 Super Bowls in 6 years, a feat that encapsulates the challenge facing the Bills. Time and time again, Buffalo has found themselves in direct competition with Kansas City, and time again, they've been left looking at the Chiefs from a step below. It's not just that the Chiefs are better, it's that they've eliminated Buffalo in 4 of the past 5 postseasons. They've been bookmarked by Stefon Diggs looking on at the celebration to Josh Allen, seemingly getting first down yardage only for the refs to mark him short. No team in NFL history had ever knocked out the same opponent that many times in such a short span. For Buffalo, the Chiefs are more than a rival. They are the roadblock that has defined an era. A bad era. Without the Chiefs, it's easy to imagine the Bills going to 2, 3, maybe a cursed 4 Super Bowls in the last 5 years. Keep in mind, the Chiefs aren't just defeating the Bills, delaying Josh Allen's legacy. They are winning the Super Bowl when they get there. It would be worse, in my opinion, if they were vulnerable in that final game, but they have not been. What makes this saga even more painful is the rarity of Buffalo's playoff streak. The Bills are the first team in NFL history to win a playoff game in 5 consecutive seasons without reaching the Super Bowl. It's essentially what they did in terms of disappointment in the early 90s, losing 4 straight Super Bowls without all the hope and excitement of actually getting to experience the joy of going to the Super Bowl.
Buffalo all the way this time!
What makes this 6-year stretch so much more painful is the brutal efficiency of their losses. Here's one of the most telling statistics in NFL playoff history. Since 1972, teams that score 4 touchdowns and commit 0 turnovers in a playoff game are 85-6. Of course, 2 of those 6 losses belong to Buffalo. Both suffered in Arrowhead against the Chiefs. Now we have what happened this year, and of course, the unspeakable loss from 2021, which I will be speaking about today. In the 2021 AFC Divisional Round, arguably one of the greatest playoff games ever played, Josh Allen delivered a masterpiece, throwing for 4 touchdowns to Gabe Davis and leading what appeared to be a game-winning drive in the final seconds. Yet, 13 seconds later, Mahomes and the Chiefs sent the game to overtime and ultimately broke Buffalo's hearts yet again. With both teams seemingly scoring at will, Josh Allen never got to touch the ball in overtime, leading to a rule change the next season. That game was the epitome of doing everything in your control to win the game and still getting let down by the guys around you. That's what's unique about Josh Allen's postseason career. There are a lot of great quarterbacks who struggle to make it to the playoffs consistently because, again, it is a team sport. And then we have many, when they do arrive, they play worse than they do in the regular season. Lamar Jackson is currently battling that narrative. Peyton Manning was tormented by it his entire career. Dan Marino, Phillip Rivers on the rare occasion he actually got there, and even the great Aaron Rodgers have had a mixed bag of performances in the postseason. I think Aaron Rodgers is a great comp for Josh Allen, with the glaring difference being Rodgers got to a Super Bowl early in his career and won. Rodgers played great in a handful of his losses with the Packers. He played average in some of the other losses. Their passer ratings, though, and their touchdown to interception ratios are similar. To make this more cruel, Josh has put up better numbers than Joe Burrow in the postseason, and of course, the Bengals made it to the Super Bowl after defeating the Chiefs. The head-to-head numbers between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes show how narrow the margin is between these two teams. Over 9 matchups, Kansas City has outscored Buffalo by a composite score of 245 to 240. Despite Allen's Herculean efforts, 1,306 total yards, 11 touchdowns, and just 1 turnover in 4 playoff games against Kansas City, the Bills have averaged 28 points in those contests while allowing 34. A recipe for a very sour result. Despite having the best point differential since 2020, Buffalo's defense has repeatedly faltered at the worst possible times, undermining the brilliance of their QB. No matter how much Allen delivers, the Chiefs seem to find just enough to outlast him. In those same matchups, Mahomes has 12 total touchdowns and also just 1 turnover with a better passer rating and a better completion percentage. But on the whole, every time Allen has shined against KC in the playoffs, Mahomes has also been on his A game. Let's dip into those 4 different matchups and get a sense of how close they really were. In their first playoff meeting, back in the 2020 AFC title game, the Bills jumped out to a 9-point lead in the first quarter, but watched as the Chiefs went on an unreal 38-6 run, by far the most lopsided playoff matchup. Back when the Chiefs were a lot more explosive on offense, Allen still had 287 yards through the air, 88 on the ground, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick, while Mahomes was near perfect, 3 TDs, 325 yards, no interceptions. That game, though, was a stepping stone in Josh Allen's maturation and the Buffalo Bills' identity as a team. They weren't quite ready for the Chiefs yet, and tragically, that was probably the most beatable KC team, as Tom Brady and the Buccaneers dominant defense proved in the Super Bowl. It was a lot more evenly matched though a year later. 2021 was a divisional round matchup, not a title game, and Josh Allen came to Arrowhead fresh off of a 5-touchdown passing performance against the New England Patriots a week earlier. So what did he do? He threw 4 more touchdowns, no picks, and a combined 397 yards. His passer rating was 136. A week before, he had a passer rating of 157.6. In 2 playoff games, Josh threw an insane 9 TDs to 0 interceptions, completing 72.9% of his passes against the Chiefs that infamous day, and 84% the week before when he officially ended that Patriots dynasty. To say he was brilliant in the 2021 postseason is a massive understatement. The Bills' rise marked the end of New England's reign of terror, while simultaneously marking the beginning of the Chiefs. I can imagine no worse fate than being the bridge between 2 sports dynasties. Josh was the Bills' whole offense that day. His running back, Devin Singletary, had 26 yards on 10 carries, so Josh truly carried the load. Mahomes was just as good, though, and the only difference between the two was one guy won the coin toss and the other did not. I truly think that's all that game came down to, and that's why the rules now mandate a possession for both teams in any playoff overtime game, right? A rule, ironically, Andy Reid wanted changed after the Patriots defeated his Chiefs in the playoffs following the 2019 season. We can thank Josh Allen for playing so well in a playoff loss, the NFL was forced to change the rule, something not even Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes could accomplish. So at least you got that victory, Josh. The Bills and Chiefs didn't meet in 2022. That was the year Buffalo was knocked out at home by the Bengals, a Bengals team that beat Kansas City in 2021 but fell short a year later. Mahomes has thrown multiple interceptions 3 times in the postseason, but never against the Bills. He is 1-2 in those games, losing to the Bengals and splitting the Super Bowl series. In 2023, the Bills had home field advantage over the Chiefs in the playoffs for the first time and still lost. Here's the toughest pill to swallow though. Buffalo has also caught some very lucky breaks recently in these games, and they have not been able to take full advantage. In the 2024 divisional at Buffalo, after forcing a fumble on the goal line, we watched Josh Allen launch the ball deep, only for it to fall through Trent Sherfield's hands. Mahomes was more efficient throwing that day as well, but Allen had 3 total touchdowns, was a maestro improvising and pitching, and once again led his team in rushing, and probably emerges victorious in this game if a couple things break his way. Neither quarterback turned the ball over, but the game hinged on a disastrous fake punt to Damar Hamlin, another ball that went through the arms of Stefon Diggs, and Tyler Bass sending a potential game-tying kick wide right.
Wow. The 2 most dreaded words in Buffalo have surfaced again.
Wow, this will be the play. If the Bills end up losing this game, it'll come back to this one. Diggs is wide open underneath. That's open. He decides to go for the home run, but he gets hit right when he throws it. It's not a missed throw.
And that brings us to the 2024/25 postseason. Unlike the loss at Buffalo, this was the championship game. 2 teams playing mistake-free football. Buffalo 1 game away from the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes probably had one of his best games of the entire season, combining for 3 touchdowns and rushing for 43 yards. Josh did get help on the ground this time from running back James Cook, but certainly not from his tight end Dalton Kincaid on 4th and 5 with the game on the line. He didn't get much help on the spot of the ball from the officials either, but Allen didn't turn the ball over once again. While Mahomes actually did fumble in this game on an exchange that was picked up by Buffalo. The ball touched the ground 5 times in that game, and the Bills recovered all 5 and still lost. In the divisional against Kansas City the year before, Buffalo recovered their own key fumble late in that game. While they have never caught a break by way of the NFL officials in these playoff games, the ball has literally bounced their way several times. Didn't matter. I think this game came down to a big factor that's probably not going to get talked about too often. The Bills missed on the Kaiir Elam pick in the draft, and it cost them in that game. They may have missed on the Dalton Kincaid pick to some extent, at least taking him over Sam Laporta. Either way, it hurts the Bills. We've given GM Brandon Beane a lot of credit over the years, but the misses in the first round of their last 4 drafts have cost them in the playoffs. When Kaiir Elam had to fill in for the injured Christian Benford, Mahomes feasted. Elam had the worst game of his career, gave up a few first downs by penalty, and was the unfortunate difference on the Bills defense. The last first rounder was Keon Coleman. Coleman had 1 reception for 12 yards in that game. The Bills and the Chiefs swapped picks in the last draft, right? And the Chiefs came away with Xavier Worthy, who had over 100 total yards from scrimmage and a touchdown against the team that passed up on him in the draft. At this point, I'm not willing to say that Xavier Worthy is better than Keon Coleman, but in this game, Worthy made plays. Keon Coleman did not. Buffalo has not used their first rounders well enough the last 3 seasons, and it came back to bite them in their arse in this game more than any other. They have to make it count this offseason if they want enough ammo to finally get it done against Kansas City, because you sure as hell know the Chiefs do not throw away first round picks very often. Brandon Beane has done a really good job as a GM, but not a great job. He's had multiple chances to find that missing piece that puts the Bills over the top. The 2022 draft is the ultimate example. The Bills picked Kaiir Elam at 23 overall, and that choice was sandwiched by 2 Kansas City first-rounders, Trent McDuffie and George Karlaftis. Those 2 guys have been in the NFL for 3 years and have never lost a single fucking playoff game.
'Cause you never lost a battle.
No, 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 no.
No. No, you never lost a battle.
And it'll always be judged in January. It doesn't matter that the Bills are 4-1 against Mahomes in the regular season. It does not matter. Outside of that Kadarius Toney offsides penalty a couple years ago, no one gives a shit about what happened in October or November or whenever between these teams. And nor should they. The Bills haven't won the games that matter, and it stings. And here's the saddest part for me. I thought when the Bills got the ball back in the championship game, they were going to win. I should have known getting the ball back with 3:33 left on the clock was a fool's errand. Double 3-3-3, you get 666, which is the Chiefs' number. An unchecked blitz and a dropped pass ended that idea, and the most insane stat that Patrick Mahomes has is that he's a perfect 7 of 7 when his team trails by 7 points or fewer in the playoffs, and he has the ball in his greedy little hands in the final minutes. Here's Trey Wingo breaking it down.
Since 2001, there have been 125 drives in the NFL's postseason where it was at least the fourth quarter and there was under a minute to play and the team on offense trailed by 7 points or fewer at the start. Do or die drives that win and lose critical games. Out of those 125 drives, only 40% of the time did the team on offense pull off the magic trick to get the points they need, a touchdown or a field goal to either win the game or tie the game. And some of these quarterbacks are really good at it, such as Tom Brady, who was 5 for 11 in those situations in the postseason, 46%. Or Drew Brees, who was 3 for 6 in his playoff career, 50%. Only one player is perfect.
Oh my
and that's Patrick Mahomes, who was 7 for 7 in those situations.
Now that is a Patrick Mahomes stat, indeed, but it's also a Kansas City Chiefs stat, an Andy Reid stat. We've never watched a team be better, execute more perfectly in the must-have moments than the Chiefs. Josh Allen doesn't have Andy Reid, who is about to surpass Bill Belichick for most playoff games coached as a head coach. The broader context makes this even harder to swallow. Since 2019, the Bills have won 78 regular season and playoff games, the most by any team in a 6-year span without reaching the Super Bowl. It's a testament to their excellence. but also a glaring indictment of how their success has failed to translate to the ultimate goal, which is not just beating the Chiefs, but winning it all. Another generation of Bills fans have been cruelly tortured. The ones in the 90s had their heartbreak and humiliation for 4 straight years. The ones after that had to suffer through a 17-year playoff drought. And now the current iteration of Bills Mafia is Charlie Brown getting the football pulled away at the last second by Patty Mahomes and Andy Reid. Allen has done everything a quarterback can reasonably be expected to do, yet the Bills' repeated postseason heartbreak speaks to the razor-thin margins that define NFL greatness. As long as Mahomes and the Chiefs remain at their peak, Buffalo's road to the Super Bowl will remain the steepest climb in football, like climbing Mount Everest every season. But when they get to the top, there's a 400-foot vertical wall they have to traverse, and it's got fucking arrowheads sticking in and out of it the whole way. And they don't help you climb up that wall, they crumble when you put your foot on them. And even if you get to the top of that wall, Travis Kelce's sitting there, ready to sing some bad version of some shitty song and push you off. Sorry, reel it in, Perna. It almost feels harder to just get to the Super Bowl in the AFC than to win it. And if they do vanquish the mighty dragon in the next few years, I'm curious to see whether that win propels them to beat their NFC opponent or if the emotional weight of that victory on the AFC side weighs them down. I just hope we get the chance to know. Josh Allen is 28 years old. He'll be 29 at the start of next season. His and the Bills' Super Bowl window is open as long as he keeps setting foot on the field. We saw his game evolve this season into a more sustainable style of play, but it's not going to last forever. And I suspect that every year the Bills are in the playoffs, the Chiefs will be alongside them in the AFC bracket. It's not even enough to say that the Bills can correct this by getting home field advantage next year, because they did in 2023, and all that happened is that their fans got to be there in person to have their hearts broken. But for whatever reason, I still believe I will see the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen win a Super Bowl. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. Please subscribe here on YouTube. Gotta subscribe. If you don't subscribe, YouTube says this guy sucks. And then they send the FBI to my house and the CIA and they make my family disappear. That's what YouTube does if you don't perform. I've got more pressure on me than Josh Allen.